This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Today's reflections are from Matthew 14:13 through 21, and is perhaps best known as the time Christ fed a crowd of 5,000 with just 5 fish and 2 loaves of bread from a little boy's lunch. And all ate their fill, and there was food left over. In this story, Jesus feeds the hungry multitude and reveals the abundance of God. The Bible often tells us that God is compassionate, but it is in the person of Jesus that it is shown to us. Jesus connects God's work and promises in the Old Testament. Even as God fed the children of Israel with manna, so Jesus feeds the multitudes. But his feeding miracle reveals more than this. As they connect Jesus with God's work, they also connect us with Jesus' work. Now, does knowing this give you a rush of energy and excitement? Does this story then prod you to get up and out of a comfortable chair and throw yourself into offering resources on behalf of a needy world? Or perhaps our response is somewhat lackluster. I honestly believe we all have what I refer to as a 5 loaves and 2 fish kind of day. A day when what was on our agenda, perhaps to get away, to be by ourselves or in prayer with our Savior, gets foiled by the demands on our time and resources by others in need. A day when we ask, what do you expect from me, God? I'm physically, mentally, and perhaps even spiritually depleted. A day when we say, well, God helps those who help themselves, so let them take care of their own wants and needs, as the disciples suggested in today's story. A 5 loaves and 2 fish kind of day is the day when you feel your resources are so little and you wonder what God could ever do with them to make it work. It's a day when you hold tightly to what you have because you fear that all you have to rely on is yourself. Jesus and the disciples saw the same great crowd, but they responded very differently because they viewed the situation differently. Jesus and the disciples represents 2 ways of seeing. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves, the disciples tell Jesus. And Jesus tells them, they need not go away. You give them something to eat. So the disciples see the crowd and focus on the resources outside of themselves. They're trying to figure out how to feed more than 5,000 empty stomachs with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. No, the math's not on their side. And they're right in saying, we have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish. From their viewpoint, there is not enough. But here's the point I believe we're to take away. There will probably never be enough as long as we're doing the math. Jesus, however, focuses on the resources within himself. Compassion is always the lens through which Jesus sees. Today's gospel calls us to remember and to anticipate, to stand in this story, look back and look forward to instances in which we have received divine nourishment, and then the opportunities to share the same. To know, to believe, and to live this life knowing no matter what our circumstances are, God is in control, and confident that nothing in our lives catches Jesus off guard, just as nothing of what was transpiring in this morning's gospel caught him off guard. Jesus uses this opportunity to teach us faith as we experience a 5 loaves and 2 fish kind of day. In the gospel, Jesus had asked Philip the question about buying bread, not because he wanted a solution from Philip, but because he wanted Philip to have faith in him. Our God can take whatever is given in faith and multiply its impact on unfathomable ways for his mission. So don't get discouraged by what you can only see. Don't be limited by it. Be willing to let go of what preconceived notions you have about what you possess and see what God can do with them. Let us willingly release our possessions we hold on to and trust that God will use the resources for his purposes. Trust that God will care for our needs as we learn to care for the needs of others. What can you and I do with our 5 loaves and 2 fish thoughts? Well, we'll never know until we start feeding the great crowd without worrying about it being enough. We might just be surprised what we're capable of, but God is not.